All right, before we get into this, like, um, L had to literally prove the existence of a god, and Light just had to find out L's name. So I personally would think L catches Walter White any day, but
Breaking Bad and
here we
Death
go.
Note have done, even if subconsciously, is compare Hank and Walter's dynamic to Light and L. As
Sorry.
both of their relationships and the fact that they're so close to each other, yet one of them so far, constantly keeps audiences on their feet and makes memorable series defining encounters. So I thought, why not? In this scenario, I'm going to be having L work alongside Hank as a sort of DEA agent, or Interpol just lets L go to Albuquerque to aid in the investigation.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. If I'm thinking about this thoroughly, like the same way that L was thinking about his case with Kira, um, Walter White is getting found within the first season. Like Walter blows up an entire building of. Yeah, he blows up. What is that dude's name? Tight, tight, tight. I don't know what his name is, but he blows his building up. Like he literally blows his building up, sets a whole scene. Like there's no way there were no cops on the scene for that. No one heard that. Not at all. I don't remember. Was that in like a junkyard or something? Cause no way. Anyways,
For whatever
dog's
reason.
working.
It doesn't really matter one way or the other, but what does matter is at what point L decides to join the investigation. As it is detailed to us in the Los Angeles BB Murder Cases novel, L is only known to take or entertain cases that have more than 10 victims or if there are millions of dollars at stake. Knowing this, I think the ideal moment to drop L into an investigation against Walter is at some point during season 3 or late season 2, as although
Oh,
not all
okay.
of them were
Okay,
victims, so
yeah, okay, so they're starting it out in season 3, not in season 1 or 2. But still, the cases and stuff. I feel like this is. Yeah, you're done after season 3. Season 3. All right, wait, spoilers, I guess. Jane dies in season 2, end of season 2, right? And then season 3 starts out with the Salamancas and Los Pueblos, right? Yeah.
to speak, 10 people had
I
died
mean,
by the time
yeah.
season 2 rolled around in relation to Walter's business. And there was also
Okay.
Gus's offer to Walter of up to $3 million just to cook for him for 3 months. At this hypothetical time that Elle would join the investigation, Walter is already in quite the vulnerable position. His confession to Skylar has him separated from his home after their relationship has become increasingly strained due to her uncovering his bending of reality. Alongside Jesse's reliability and commitment to the business waning after the death of his lover Jane, as well as his friend Combo. But how would these vulnerabilities and Elle encroaching on this moment in Walter's story play out for the both of them? At first, Hank will become a bit uncomfortable or abrasive with both Elle and his style of investigation, as Elle is quick to act on even the
Sure.
smallest pieces of information or clues, which isn't always just, and this is why some of the novels have gone on to describe Elle and his methods as slight.
He'll probably say this, but I mean, also, wouldn't Hank just be abrasive because he's literally his like brother-in-law? I mean, like the only reason Hank was so like WW is because he found it on his own and he found it in like his brother-in-law's bathroom, and it's just super suspicious. And he still didn't even do anything crazy about it. I mean, he caught him, but season whatever episode that was.
Evil. This is
Osmandius.
something that Hank would pick up on fairly quickly and will disapprove of, especially the more Elle starts to put together even the earliest pieces manifesting a profile of who he believes this Heisenberg character to be. The idea of family, holding on to it no matter what, as well as protecting and guarding it, is a very common theme throughout both Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. With such on-the-nose lines as La familia es todo, or family is everything, being essentially the motto of the Salamanca family, spoken by both Hector and Lalo on 2 separate occasions, and even Tuco himself says that there is a lot of collateral damage when
Tuco,
dealing
that
with
was
a
his
man
name.
who has a family. Hank is
Yo, I
also an
forgot
excellent
that.
example of these principles, as he continuously overlooks many of the things that implicate Walter as the brains behind baking up that blue sky, either unknowingly or purposefully, such as the already quite damning JP Wynn lab mask all the way way back in season 1, or the fact that Walter can suspiciously somehow afford Hank's treatment, his own treatment, and a Dodge Challenger for Junior. Even if Hank does not think to inform Elle of proceeding pieces of evidence or information within the case, Elle will still ask about them himself, as he is just that meticulous, and this is already the first sign
That's
of trouble.
what I'm saying. He
for
would have
Walter.
solved it
Once
immediately.
Elle
The second
hears
he's
about
on the
something
spot.
like the JP Wynn lab mask, and especially if Hank informs him that he decided to visit Walter to inquire about it, Elle will already start to close in on Walter as one of, if not the prime, suspect. Just as how, in the original series,
goodness.
Elle used the information that Kira must be in the Kanto region of Japan after Light kills Lind L. Taylor on live Japanese television, and that Kira must also be someone with access to police records, since criminals who weren't even reported on the news were somehow still being killed. These previously established facts in the investigation at the time, as well as qualities that he could imagine in someone like Kira, is what he used to begin looking at potential suspects. A protective mask from a school chemistry lab where the demonstrably overqualified teacher who is on a teacher salary, working 2 jobs to barely make ends meet, and is now suffering from a terminal illness that requires treatment, is one of only a few known people with keys to get into the lab where the mask originated from before it was found at a meth cook site. These details that even Jesse puts together to find out why Walter truly got involved in the business in the first place is something that Elle would undoubtedly put together rather easily, and once he does, he will inform Hank that he desires to approach or confront Walter just as he had approached Light at his school. Since, when he decided to narrow in on the people that Ray Penber was investigating before he died, he only ruled out directly questioning them because he was afraid of the task force members being supernaturally murdered by Kira. Whereas the profile of a Heisenberg in Elle's mind, especially if he begins to seriously think that Walter is his prime suspect, will not be the type to get to that point of aggression or violence. Even more so if Hank potentially attempts to deter Elle from getting onto Walter too much by talking about him the way he did at his 50th birthday party, insinuating through insults and his infamous dude bro locker room humor that he believes Walter is too meek or cowardly to be the brains behind the operation. Elle would use this against him by telling Hank it would be a simple, innocent interview, then attempt to put his mind at ease, saying that he only minorly suspects Walter, and Hank has nothing to be afraid of. Similarly to what he does with Soichiro, or even the entire task force, by saying that Light is his friend, when in reality he despises him and revels in picking his brain to see how he can get him to potentially slip and confirm his suspicions. Elle also does this after their tennis game, telling Light that he does suspect that he is Kira, but only by a factor of 1%. Light picks up on this, saying that if it's anything other than a 0, then his freedom is still at immediate risk, and Eldon justifies this paranoia by monologuing to himself later that his suspicions of Light have actually gone up to 7%. And this would be a similar case here, where Elle would want to interview Walter to assess whether or not his personality matches the profile he has in his mind of who Heisenberg is, or he may become interested in him regardless of his suspicions, since, like Light before him, Elle may consider Walter's extensive knowledge regarding chemistry as something noteworthy. He most likely won't full-blown ask him to join the investigation and start hanging around the DEA offices, but he may ask him basic chemistry-related questions like, where would one find chemicals necessary to cook blue sky and reach the full extent of its potent purity? And Walter, being timid or even somewhat cowardly when confronted about deep-seated personal truths or the reality that someone is getting closer to discovering the truth regarding his criminal activities, will not be able to handle such direct questioning and could potentially incriminate himself with his body language alone. Since, remember, Elle not only placed Light under surveillance.
Does Elle ever get anyone based on body language? I mean, he doesn't need it. I mean, he has so much information, but like, no. Like, I'm thinking through. No. He... Maybe Misa? I don't remember. I don't think so. I don't think he ever... I don't know. Body language is such a interesting topic. I feel like Elle would use the information he has... I mean, the information he already has is so damning. He doesn't need body language to confirm his suspicions. It's pretty
The
obvious.
murders would take place under their watch,
Under
and also
his
to get a read on who the
credentials.
Yagami family are as people from afar, and how they would react to being almost directly confronted, as is evident by L airing the fake news announcement
shoot.
regarding Interpol sending over 1,000 detectives from all across the globe to aid in the Kira case, with the goal of goading a reaction out of either Sayu or Light, as it is only when Light reveals some of his true deductive capabilities to taunt L that L begins to find him intriguing. Though Walter is undoubtedly intelligent in his own right, he does not want to challenge someone like L, and only really plays into the sort of cat and mouse game between he and Hank once he's intoxicated. Therefore, I doubt L would look for any sort of challenge that he personally believed Light Yagami and Kira to be. L recognized Kira as a deluded murderer seeking to impose their brand of justice on the rest of society, and he sought to challenge that by calling Kira out as evil live on television for the people that Kira is attempting to rule by fear to watch, and by directly and publicly challenging Light as well as what he believes to be his new righteous purpose, the games between the two of them commence. But after meeting Walter and asking him the most basic of questions, or even more personal ones, such as how he's affording his treatment, L will pick up on these traits within Walter's speech or the movement within his face when he lies or is presented with something about his illicit activity, and recognize that Walter isn't someone with a grandiose sense of self seeking to usher in a new future for the rest of humanity based on their own restrictive and narrow view of reality, but rather...
Yeah, if he's going with the narrative that, like, the show would continue a few extra seasons because of this, like, heated rivalry between Walter and Light, that's not happening. He just said it, but yeah, Light did it because he literally, like, saw it as a game, and then L also saw it as a game and challenged him to that game. But Walter is doing it for the money. He has the money, and he just keeps on doing it for the fun of it. Yeah.
Simply another illicit salesman on the street. Just one that's profoundly more educated than the average thug or addict. After meeting and potentially questioning him, L may desire to place bugs and cameras through Walter's home, in which case Hank will most certainly put his foot down and begin to become aggressive with L, as Hank was only willing to use any sort of surveillance on Walter when he had something as concrete and undeniable as Gail Bedecker outright stating that they had worked together. But I don't see L letting up on this particular issue anytime soon, as he has no other leads or suspects, and to someone like L, evidence as incriminating as the JP Wynn mask is practically enough to put him in cuffs, alongside Walter's self-destructive behavior manifesting around this time as a result of his failing marriage as well. And L would more than likely find it strange as to why a mother would leave the man providing for their son and newborn daughter around the time she was born. Elle will decide to question Skylar eventually about this, but whether or not she will outright divulge any useful information to Elle is up for debate, as she is still holding on to her deal with Walter and won't even give him up after Junior calls her a bitch over their separation, and Walter still continuously shows up at the house. The same could also be said for Jesse, who has no shortage of his own problems with Walter towards the beginning of season 3, and especially a quarter
Jesse
or
would
so
fold
into it
so
after Hank
easily.
puts him in the hospital. In said hospital, he admits that he is willing to give up Walter to save himself, or really just to spite him. Now, whether or not Jesse was bluffing here is purely up to speculation, but Elle having any sort of involvement in the RV destruction scenario is terrible for Walter, as not only could Elle come into contact with a mentally unfortified and vulnerable Jesse, if not from his latest falling out with Walter, then most certainly from Hank's assault, and being at one of his lowest points in the series, Jesse would undoubtedly be open to Elle's manipulation or coaxing, especially if he thinks he could use Elle to get back at Hank or Walter. Although Hank won't be as vitriolic towards Elle trying to question or intimidate Jesse, since he himself does it numerous times throughout the series, this RV situation wouldn't have as much time to breathe on its own, but it more so serves as the catalyst for what's to come. Directly after the RV incident, Gustavo meets with Marco and Leonel Salamanca to hopefully satiate their unending lust for revenge over Tuco's death, as the Salamancas believe in blood for blood, but Gustavo still needs Walter to cook for him at this point in the story. Therefore, he approves of the twins taking Hank's life to make amends for their cousin's death. From this point, events would play out as they do in the original series, with Hank surviving his encounter with the Salamanca twins, but still ending ending up hospitalized as a result. And this is where things get complicated. Hank was already suspended following his assault on Jesse, but him being full-blown hospitalized is another matter entirely. As he is no longer on the investigation, there is no one to stop L from going all the way and trying to find something to definitively incriminate Walter. If L was doing this no-hold...
Bro is sitting like L. Ban that guy. Ban that guy from my chat. You're gone.
Barred, he may go the route of holding Walter alongside Jesse as well after the RV incriminates him. Then once sightings of Blue Sky inevitably come to a grinding halt, Walter and Jesse are finished. The only problem with this is that the DEA will most certainly not approve of these methods or allow him to go through with them in the first place, and the circumstantial evidence obtained through restraining the two will more than likely not hold up in an American court of law, and L himself could be charged with false imprisonment. With Hank still out of the picture, however, there is nothing to stop L from planting cameras, wiretaps, or GPS trackers on Walter's car, his apartment, or the White's house. And although Walter probably won't go around screaming that he cooks Blue Crystal, there are conversations that Walter has and other things about his daily routine that will give L something to chew on and potentially another reason to interrogate or get closer to him.
Yeah,
if he tracks Walter going to the laundry, he may seek...
I don't know what other information he really needs. Like he said, the damning evidence is already there. I don't... Unless he has something else that he...
does. But there is no Walter.
I low-key just want to see what his conclusion of this is.
If he hears the "Are we safe?" conversation between Walter and Skylar in his car, he will question Walter about what exactly he is doing or involved with that could endanger him or his family. There are also Walter's visits to the Los Pollos Hermanos farm, which El may choose to question him on as well, as any of these places could be used to launder dirty money or conduct the illicit business El assumes Walter is involved in. But speaking of Los Pollos and the laundry, I've also neglected to mention Gustavo's part and how the investigation would play out. If El decides to visit Hank in the hospital as he did Soichiro with his heart attack, and Gustavo sees him, he won't be immediately alarmed, but he may increase his visits to the DEA office or to Hank in the hospital to get a read on El. Gus has never feared the DEA or its agents, hiding blatantly in front of them and at one point even taunting Hank to keep looking for him after he confronts him about his lack of history in Chilean records. What Gus did notice and was wary of, however, was Walter's insatiable ego, his cowardice, and impulsivity. And if he believes El to be someone who could exploit those traits to get Walter to break, he may decide to get rid of Walter a little earlier than when Jesse kills Gale, just as he did with Werner Ziegler in Better Call Saul, when he proved himself to be a liability while Gus was being investigated by Lalo Salamanca. And this could be trouble for not only Walter, but El as well. In fact, El or Jesse dying means that even if he could prove after Walter's death that he was indeed Heisenberg and the one behind the blue sky, El alongside Hank or even the DEA themselves would consider this as a loss. As detailed in the Los Angeles BB Murder Cases novel, where the killer beyond birthday or backup L considers killing himself in Samurai Shodown 5 Special and pretending to be one of the victims in the case. Therefore, L could never really prove that B was the killer and would be unable to solve the case, thereby surpassing his predecessor L, as was his goal all along. Hank holds a similar belief where, in the infamous "You Got Me" scene, he acknowledges that Gail Bedecker is more than likely the Heisenberg he has been chasing, but he also similarly laments that he could not catch and arrest him directly with his own hands. There is also an instance in the El Changed the World novel, which takes place in an alternate reality where El actually nearly takes the victory over Light until he uses a scrap from the Death Note to kill himself, and El grovels in depression, contemplating about what he considers to be a loss, even going as far as to say he was, quote, not even close to winning. If Gus doesn't get to Walter before El does, then I think he can more than likely bring Walter in at around episode 11, Abiquiu, where Hank is still in the hospital and therefore there is no one to stop El from placing bugs and cameras in the White's home, just as he did with Light when he thought that he was one of only 3 to 4 people that could be Kira based on the profile he had built in his mind. And in this episode, Walter quite blatantly admits to money laundering in a talk with Skylar. And not only may this be enough to bring Walter in, but could also justify a search of the laundry or even the Los Pollos Hermanos farm, as either of these places that Walter visits could be used for this illicit activity. And as Walter is already behind schedule with his cooks due to Hank being in the hospital, sightings of Blue Sky inevitably dying down due to he or Jesse's imprisonment only makes it worse. And this is considering that Elle hasn't gotten Walter to break during any prior questioning or interrogation, since, as I mentioned earlier, he pretty much wears his fear and guilt on his face whenever he is confronted about or presented with something in relation to his criminal activity. And it would be no surprise to me if Elle somehow manipulated Walter into giving up Gus's entire operation skin. The only thing really stopping Elle from catching Walter early on in the investigation is Hank's intervention, as whether subconsciously or knowingly, he just outright refused to look into Walter as a suspect at all. Even when he acknowledges Hugo wasn't at all responsible for the missing JP Wynn lab mask, he refuses to look into Walter as the only other immediate person with keys to the chemistry lab inventory. Elle, however, does not have this attachment to Walter.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Like, I know, would Gus really be able to kill? Okay, that's a bad question. Would Gus be able to kill Walter before he gets detained? When does that one scene where that he said it was episode 11? When they kill Gale, and he like butchers his like Gus butchers his like side assistant or something like that, sends a message. I feel like right there would be when he kills him. That's episode 11. So anytime before that, he said episode 10. I don't know. I really don't know the episodes. I don't know too much about the season 2-ish, 3-ish zone. I guess that's season 3-ish. Because, like, those are just episodes that just happen. But, I mean, did they not track, like, how easy would it be to ask to track someone's car? Or is it illegal to, is it illegal to track someone's car? Yeah, here we go. Generally illegal and could lead. What if it's law enforcement? Law enforcement can legally track a vehicle without consent if they have a valid warrant. That's an easy warrant you can get. Yeah, they just track his car. Just actually track his car without his consent. And then, yeah, he's going to... I feel like they did that in the show. They actually did that in the show, but... You just go to the 3 spots. Hank did that. Yeah, Hank did that. He went to the laundromat, the Gus's laundromat, but he did not get in. There was not a way in, unfortunately. Elle would have been smarter than that, though. I'm saying, like, on a comparison from, like, Hank levels of smartness to, like, Elle levels of smartness, if they sent someone in there, if he's going there 8 hours in a day, and they can't even find him on the premises of the laundromat, then that's eyebrows, that's suspicious. But whatever.
Or really anybody else, as is result from his conditioning at Lammy's house, which is also demonstrated by the fact that he was so detached from Soichiro having panic attacks and breaking down whenever Elle at all insinuated Light as his main suspect in the Kira investigation. The combination of Elle's detachment, Walter just not being as hidden or clever as someone like Gustavo, and Elle's raw capabilities as a detective, being described as superhuman and even stopping entire world wars at just 8 years old and Elle changed the world, make this a rather easy case for Elle without someone like Hank stopping him from going about the methods.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I said it at the beginning of the video, but, I mean, Elle in Death Note has to prove the existence of a god at one point. Like, he has to prove that there is a book that you physically write in and someone just falls over and dies. Like, how do you even do that? That's not possible. Most people cannot do that. I'm pretty sure this guy has another video where it's, can Batman solve the Kira case, or the L case, or the light case? And, again, Batman could solve it because he doesn't care. He doesn't have the moral grounds that L does, where if someone dies, it's like, whatever. He'll just kill whoever he thinks is the top suspect. He's a vigilante. But, like, L has to confide to the laws of the judicial system that he's a part of. And, like, how do you even prove the existence of a god in a judicial system, actually? Is that even possible? Is that actually possible? Could you do that right now? Could we prove the existence of God, of Jesus Christ, in a judicial system right now? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But
he would use to attain proof enough to keep Walter in jail. L nearly solved the supernatural Akira case, even though he was up against someone who was relative to him in intelligence and actual gods of death. The Blue Sky case, with evidence as blatant as the JP Wind mask, Walter openly talking about his crimes where L may be listening, alongside Walter somehow being able to afford cancer treatment on a teacher's salary, is seemingly nothing in comparison. So yes, without Hank in his way, and if Gus doesn't get to him first, L will catch Walter White.
Thank you. And I will go into even further on this. Let me look at these episodes. Breaking Bad. Yeah. No Mas. That's the school episode. Mas. What episode is this? Oh, the RV. Most of these are the RV episodes. This one is the episode where he throws the pizza on the roof. Oh, and she says, I effed Ted. He didn't... I thought he said episode 10 was around where he'd get caught. Ten's the fly... I thought episode 6 was the fly episode. He's catching him before the fly episode. What is this? ICU? What is this one? This is the one where... Yeah, he's in the hospital. Okay, this is what we're talking... No. He sees him way before that. No, I'm not... 3. Episode 3 is where he gets caught. I'm not even joking. He's throwing a tantrum. Let's see the trailer for it. Is this a trailer for the episode 3, or is it...
Your new lab.
Telling me you're cooking again?
It's season 3. Okay.
For 3 months of your time.
You're a drug dealer.
I'm a manufacturer. I'm not a dealer.
Caught right before that.
That's who I am.
And who are you?
I'm the bad guy.
Bad guy. Yep. Caught before that. Deluxe edition.
Really was a transitional one for Walt. For me, it was all about Walt
That's
realizing
episode 2, I
that
think,
he had
right?
to embrace. Scene starts. There's a couple cameras.
Got me into laundry and they're going to kill me. Jesse, do it now!
The cut. Do we realize? Bang on.
The pizza.
First try.
Yeah, whatever episode that is as well, he's gone. He's already caught. I'm not even joking.
Jesse, do it now! Do it, bitch! Do it fast! Do it, Jesse! Do it!
This is like episode 8-ish. No.
I want...
It's finished.
Yeah, episode 5-ish or something. No. Episode 10 is not where he gets caught. He gets caught way sooner than that. Episode 3, he's caught. He's brought in for suspicion. He goes in, does his thing, and then he gets put in the cellar. And that's it. That's it.
If you enjoyed this video, maybe you're an old sub and you like the first Death
What
Note
is that
video in quite some
profile? That
time,
is freaky.
or you enjoyed my first full-length Breaking Bad video.
No. That is a freaky-ass profile. Yeah. All right, well, conclusion is L would have won episode 3, season 3. Any sooner than that, he would have caught him as well. All right, see you guys.